What are the post-COVID tendencies which you can see, and what does this mean for you? And take some of those bubbles, like a tendency, like I said, is certainly it's going to be more regional or nearby. It's going to be even more thoughtful, not just because about the climate, but also because how you and I, how consumers react. Probably it's a bit less the time in the future about flying, I don't know, around the world in 36 hours or doing quick transatlantic flights over the weekend. It's an obvious one that is going to change, and I think thoughtfulness in travel is an important guideline how you want to set up your business or how you want to invest your money. Uncertainty will remain with vaccine or not, and I guess everybody who is flexible and has the capability to be agile, it's a huge gift. So if you're a small company or at least a very agile company, you have experienced that in the past, it has been brilliant, and it will be even more important in the future. Mobility has changed a lot. People in the older generations, everybody used to have their own car. Now, the newer generations, they don't need to have their own car, well, mainly if they are in big cities where public transportation and new ways of transport are there. And we also believe that's going to be a huge potential for the future. Economy back to nature, like I said, that also correlates a lot with thoughtful travel. It's going to be even more individualistic. It's going to be more about me, myself, and I, or us, and a little bit less like the old mass market products which we have seen. And I guess one of the guiding topics will also be convenience. So everything which is easy to book, easy to understand, easy to buy, will work well, and complicated stuff which doesn't need a meet the customer purpose will be difficult going forward. Now, what that means for us, and probably a little bit, we see our investment corridors going forward. Like I said, hospitality will be an important segment for us, has been and will be. Not so much just where the booking happens, but definitely in the back of the house, let's say in stuff like supply chain, transparency in terms of accounting, and knowing where they stand with their financials. So back of the house software as a service, we believe there's still a huge potential out there. Again, not so much for the big chains, but for the smaller hospitality, which represent a huge part of the industry. We believe that vacation rentals, camping and glamping, which we are seeing, are doing really well. And we believe also that there's going to be a lot of consolidation in those spaces and a lot of new business models emerging. So if you're thinking of inventing something new or starting your own business, it's a good place to be. Travel and mobility will remain one of our focus, equally like the leisure segment. And maybe something which is also a topic and give you some food for thought is the segment of elderly care. And why are we addressing the segment of elderly care? Well, obviously it's one of the biggest problems or developments which we are seeing in many places of the world, especially in Europe and North America. And we believe if you are in hospitality, if you treat your customers well, maybe there's some good thinking and some good ideas which you can adopt from hospitality to elderly care, specifically when it comes about supporting people and their environment with technology, just allowing people to stay longer at their home and not just to push them in elderly care homes. So probably it's a good idea to think about potential in this space as well. Voila. So what does remain after those obvious discussions? There's a couple of things which will not change if you are thinking about launching your own business, about trying to find investors. And I've just reused one of those many lists who are out there in the market about what are the top reasons why startups fail. Number one is there's no market need. Number two, they run out of cash. And number three, and probably for us the most important one, it's not the right team. So, and I guess, like I said earlier, this will not fundamentally change or become even more important going forward. So if you are thinking about trying to find an investor, building your own business, make sure you have the right team, make sure you have the right funding, and make sure you have properly evaluated that there is really a need in terms of what you're building. And even if it is stating a little bit the obvious, I would want to give you a little bit of our insight as well. Number one reason why startups fail, there's no market need. So there's a lot of people coming and approaching venture capital companies like us with nice pitch decks and good ideas, but in many cases they have not been tested with the customer or really evaluated well enough whether there's a true potential to monetize a good idea. So make sure you test it, make sure you speak with as many people as you can, share your idea. We sometimes hear the question, should we share the idea? Should we let people sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement? And I truly believe no. Share your idea, get feedback from as many folks around, well, in your environment, and try to sound your idea and make sure that you have a robust understanding whether there is really a market need or it's just a good idea. So research and make sure you have a team who has the same understanding. And when I say team, then not only a startup and the founders team, but also consider as part of your team your investors. It is a bit like being in a marriage. If you have your investor, you need to live with them for a couple of years, shorter years or longer years, but make sure you click well with them and make sure you don't have a stressful situation from scratch with your investors, which is normally not a good idea. And number three of the reasons in that list was, again, it's not startups do not have the right team. And I also only want to underline what I said, how important this is if you're thinking about building your own startup venture. Make sure you have the right team. Make sure you have the right skills and the right talent. And also make sure you consider the team, like I said, not just the founders, but also your seed investors, your sponsors, your advisory boards. So it is so important to have a good team and not just be a single player out there on your own. And then typically a process before a startup company gets funding is a lengthy one. This is a funnel which is probably typical, not just for us, but for most of the venture capital firms. You start with a massive deal flow. So venture capital firms like us, we see many pitch decks. And if people are not focused on one industry, they see even more pitch decks. So you need to make sure you stand out. Make sure you maybe speak a little bit more about your team, your profiles, your capabilities, your experience, your resilience, and not so much just about making sure you have, the same slides, they look the same like everybody else. Make sure you stand out. And then it goes normally down all the way through the funnel with interviews, benchmarking, second rounds, due diligence, and getting to know the people. And like I said, I would just recommend to people who are thinking about launching their own business, make sure you also spend enough time evaluating your investors, because you need to stick a long time together with them. And if you have succeeded to go through all of this lengthy process and pass the due diligence and finally have the money on your account, well, then that's the next amazing stage. And like I said, I think it's a wonderful, it's not a wonderful, it's a good time to be in travel. We are a specialist in travel and hospitality, in venture capital, and we believe positively in the future. We believe it's a good time to start a new business, to invest in a new business now. Make sure you financially survive the winter, and then probably from March, April next year, hopefully it's going back through the roof. Voila. Thanks. And now I hope my moderator is back and we can maybe take some questions.
Hello, do you hear me?
I do.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the presentation. It was great. So I have a question for you. Could you please go back to the slide why startups fail? It was at number 2, I guess. There was a run out of cash.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, this one, run out of cash. Actually, whole travel industry is run out of cash right now. So how do you think travel startups should go through this pandemic process about the cash thing?
Yeah, I think make sure you stop your expenditure to the extent it is possible. We've helped many companies in our portfolio. We've seen that other venture capital firms done the same. Stop spending too much money. Be cautious. Hold your cash. Hold your money. Get fresh new money from either banks or loans or investors or subsidize, or however you can make sure you get cash. But I guess the number one most important thing is do not wait and hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And just making sure you cut your cost to a radical level is probably a good advice if you look into the next couple of months, which we need to survive economically.
So some of the investors ask for the sales. Actually, do you have any income still in coronavirus, something like that? So lots of startups still expanding for marketing budget. Do you suggest this for marketing expense, or no, just cut the marketing expense as well?
No, I think there's no one size fits all. What we are seeing in our own portfolio and also hearing from other people is that specifically software as a service companies in hospitality, they went relatively well. Why? Because hotels were in lockdown and they had more time to listen to startup companies. They had more time to understand what tech can do versus what people are doing and are costing. And also we see in a lot of places that there's also a generation change. So the fathers would hand over business to their sons or to their daughters. And obviously the younger people, they are eager to implement more tech and do stuff better and more efficient. So software as a service in hospitality is a nice example to see how the last couple of months really went well. And also then it makes sense to spend a little bit in terms of marketing money.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your answers, and thank you for your presentation as well.
Thanks a lot, and all the best to everybody, and hope to see you one day.
Yeah, hope to see you after the coronavirus, I guess.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, yes, we left behind the first speech of our first day. It's lunch break time. I would like to remind you that it's a good time for networking since all the stages are at break. There is also a networking system where you can chat with the participants. I recommend you to use this opportunity. See you in half an hour, exactly at 30. Bye-bye.